Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and this is episode number 66. This evening we have Dave Crouch from Jackass Genius, frontman, lead vocalist. He's a musician. He's a total musician. He's here tonight with Di, and the two of them brought some very fine gifts I greatly appreciate, one of which we partook upon.
They were delicious. It was delicious.
It was Angel's Envy, and it was absolutely fantastic. And so we had some great pregame experience.
A lot of pregame, yeah.
Dave, say hello.
Hello, Dave.
We have an applause. Dave Crouch, a Worthington gentleman.
Yeah. All the way.
How's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, things are happening and pushing forward in 2024.
2024 is going to be a great year for a lot of us that are above ground and hope to stay there.
Yep.
We know that Jackass Genius is a well respected band in Columbus, Ohio. Dave, how long has the band been around?
We're going on. I think this is the 14th year. Next year will be our 15th, and got big plans for our 15th year. But as a unit, we've been around with the same four guys for about 14 years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Rock cover band, same. The same formula, right?
Same formula. Cover band, an original here and there. But, been around and, occasionally spreading the wealth with, other bands and stuff like that as far as band members, sharing and getting on stage with others. But, 14 years, pretty solid.
That's amazing. It really is, and congratulations too, because you guys are still rocking, still making it happen.
We're having a great time,
and it shows. I haven't seen you guys live yet, believe it or not. I mean, I go out a lot, but I'm looking forward to catching a live show. I've seen a lot of video, and I know you've had some interest in.
Don't believe everything you read, so or everything you see on YouTube. It's not all completely true, but I mean, some of it is. But
I remember telling people, man, Facebook's not real life.
No. Depends on who you are, but no.
You guys are having a blast, though, man.
We are.
And you've got some shows booked this year, too, right? Like, how's that lining up this year in 2024?
We're doing good. We'll be doing what we do best. A lot of Southside stuff and the festival stuff, and we're doing our thing. Looking forward to just hanging out with our friends, and we've got a lot of regulars, I guess I want to say, that come out and see us and have a great time with that, and love it when we partake with other musicians in town, and occasionally we'll the band gets up and we go see other bands and stuff like that. So we're trying to make it a community thing, and just trying to make it a big band fest all year long.
Music is such a it's very personal, but it's very community oriented. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And of course, the popularity of rock cover bands in this town is at it's a lot of opportunity still.
Oh yeah, and I think you hear folks like Christy Kemper and stuff like that say that and I'm gonna borrow her phrase. It's very incestuous, but she's right. I mean, a lot of these bands have played with each other, right? We've all kind of been in the trenches together for off and on for the last 35, 40 years. Some of us anyway. And we've all had a very good time. We've all kind of grown up and raised kids, and it was kind of funny because in the 80s we're the ones that were always watching each other at the El Rosa and like Todd Bettler said, our arms are crossed, and our band can do it better. But now we're all friends, right? So I mean,
That's
we're
cool.
we're all going out to see each other. So it's been quite a. And I think COVID had a lot to do with that. I also think that the QFM 96 Torgan Elliott Band Contest had a lot to do with that.
Sure
right?
thing.
It kind of resurrected some bands coming to the forefront. Everybody getting together.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot that QFM 96 has done over the years with Columbus, but also for Columbus. They really do, I think, deserve a lot of credit for what happens in this town.
Absolutely.
Especially, obviously, in the rock genre. But
Oh yeah.
speaking of which, a little bragging moment here, but your band's relationship with QFM 96 is pretty special. What was that?
It is because we were the first QFM 96 Torgan Elliott house band back in 2016, and it's been kind of a great ride, right? I mean, that was kind of a landmark year for us, obviously. Didn't expect to win anything. We kind of got involved with that. It was a new thing for QFM. Obviously, it was a new thing for us. So we submitted our thing, went in, did the show, did the contest, won the contest, and then the rest is kind of like been a roller coaster ever since. So never underestimate kind of kicking things into high gear. I'm not saying that we necessarily thought ourselves as a kind of a medium band, just playing from club to club. It was never that, but it's when you kind of cross over into that thing where you expand your horizons, if you will. That's when things start happening, and so that's what happened to us. In 2016, we entered that contest, and things kind of took off.
And they're still rolling forward, are they not?
They are.
Yeah.
It's been a great ride, and it continues to be a great ride, and I think it's really always going to be. And I think QFM has a lot to do with that because a lot of these bands, again, like I said, are getting together. We're all kind of sharing the same type of thing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot that keep cropping up too, which is good to see. And there's a few younger bands too, I think, that are latching on, doing 90s based rock and into the 2000s hits, if you will.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity for people that want to find out about local music and go to some of these venues in town that are doing it. There's a lot of great supporting venues around at all levels too, right? All levels of musicianship, and as seasoned players, right? You guys can play wherever you want, basically.
Absolutely.
And it's really a good opportunity that there's so much variety.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, from when things started happening a few years back, I think there was a lot of a stress point on 70s, 80s, 90s rock and stuff like that. And I think we're kind of growing into that. There was an entity that was like bands that were like all 80s or all 90s or whatever, but now you see kind of a cross pollination, and you're seeing kind of like an enrichment of some of these bands kind of coming together and doing maybe a little more 90s than they were before. It's not that the 80s were getting old, but hey, you know what? There's a whole decade here that we're not including, right? And that's starting to kind of come into play, I think.
And is that where Jackass Genius is kind of looking at? Is some of these social changes and adapting to that, or do you guys have your own idea of what you want to be performing?
I think we do what's best for us. And
what your wheelhouses are. Right.
I don't think that we, and this is going to sound weird, but I don't think we focus on the audience first. I think we focus on us first, because if we're not having fun, they're not going to have fun, right? So if we pick out a song from the 70s, it's because we think it's going to be something that somebody wants to hear. Hopefully it's not going to be something that somebody's overhearing, right? I mean, there's a tendency to do that as well. But 90s also kind of plays into that, right? I mean, occasionally we'll hear something that perks our ears up, and you know what, that might be a good fit. It just kind of depends.
Yep, I gotcha. And you guys are all so talented, right? That you can do whatever you want, which is, it's a great place to be. You've been through the battles and the wars, and now it's almost like it's time for relishing in what you love to do, what you perform. And to your point, you feel good about what you're doing and what you're playing, and the audience is going to respond.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I think the guys kind of look at each other in rehearsal and realize what's going to work and what's not. But at the end of the day, if it's not making us happy, it's not going to make anybody else happy. And era to us is, yes, we've got a high concentration of a certain era, and that's fine. But that doesn't exclude us from thinking about something that's more recent or whatever else. That's never affected us.
Yeah, got it. Yep, and a fun show. So, you guys have presence online. You have your own website. We'll put some of those links in your episode when it gets blasted out.
So I'm going to sound like a lead singer all of a sudden, but you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/JackassGenius. As everybody knows, on Facebook, Jackass Genius is one word. You can find us on Twitter at JackassGenius1. That's a number 1. And with the new website, thank you, Marshall, is jackassgenius.net. Did I have that right? What?
WizKids.
And I'm getting there.
Nice.
And of course, on Facebook, we have the we call us like a friend site. Is on Facebook.com we have the Jackass Genius WizKids site, and the reason we use WizKids is because that's where friends of ours can go and they can post videos and say what they want and everything else.
Cool.
And then on our Facebook site, that's for promotional things and things that aren't going to get altered, or we're not going to let a whole lot of comments on there. That's not what that's for. So the WizKids are for people to share experiences, videos and whatnot, or photos and stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It gets less muddy in what you're trying to communicate. If you're communicating a show and it gets buried in 57 posts, it's tough to keep your audience informed of what's happening.
Exactly, yeah. and that was the whole point. I can put a post. I can put a post on the Jackass site, and then I can share it on WizKids, and then WizKids can do what they want with it. But if they want to post a video from a show or something like that, or have something to say, that's the place that they go. Everything else is the traditional sites for us, just to post shows and bulletins and whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and we'll put links to those in the episode description, so folks can hit those and stay in touch. It's awesome. Dave, I know you're from Worthington, Ohio.
I am.
But where did music start for you?
Wow. That's kind of a tall order. Well, let's rewind.
Yeah.
It's probably about 1970.
Okay.
And I'm watching The Partridge Family. And I saw David Cassidy probably getting a lot of chicks. And I thought he had a good voice. I got to admit it. He had a great voice.
Have a good voice.
And so anybody that can sing about Albuquerque and get chicks, I think, is probably somebody I can emulate. So.
And he had a TV show.
And he had a TV show. So, but I wanted to be like David Cassidy back when I was 8 years old. So, I had I would tune in every Friday night, and for my birthday, my mom asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I told her a Partridge Family album, and she went to my older brother and said, I want you to pick this album up for your younger brother who's having a birthday, and he wants a Partridge Family album. And my brother said, okay, sure. And then he got in the car and said, oh, hell no. And he went to Lazarus and bought me a Beatles album.
Nice.
And so I went from Partridge Family to Beatles.
By default.
By default.
By brother's guidance.
Yeah, by brother's guidance. But my brother wasn't wrong. God bless you, Mike. Thank you very much. But I did wear out Sgt. Pepper's for a number of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a freaky album.
It is. But
how old were you when you got this?
I was probably 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the only song that kind of confused me was "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds," but now we all know. So
yeah, I suppose we do. But I think Paul McCartney even challenges the theories behind all that. But
yeah.
Who knows, man?
I don't know.
It was the 70s.
It was weird, dude. Though.
Coming out of the 60s.
It was weird.
Yeah.
But
okay, so you wore out this Beatles album, and then where did that like take you to?
From there, I really didn't focus on the Beatles too much after that album. I mean, back in the 70s, there was you had radio, so you had. By 76, my father had passed away, and I remember kind of like inheriting his stereo. And so the one thing that I would do every afternoon when I got home from school is I would turn on his stereo, and there would largely be the same group of songs because that's radio programming at the time. But one song that got me was Magic Man by Heart. It was like so cool.
Absolutely.
It was like, this chick is just blasting it out. But the other thing, which kind of harkened back to the pop thing of it, was Cliff Richard singing "Devil Woman," and I'm like, I think I wore that out too. And, I had the little cassette thing with the, it would record, and so I put it in front of the stereo speaker, and record that, and then play that over and over again. But I wanted to be something somewhere between, those two. I definitely wanted to be, singing Devil Woman when I was 10 years old. So 11 years old.
Yeah. Were you singing strictly young and then maybe picked up some instrumentation later? How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, no, I started out, my mom got me a guitar when I was 8, and it didn't take. I wasn't an easy student. And then Mom brought in a piano and insisted that we both take lessons as a way to bond with each other. And that didn't take either. God bless you, Mom. I love you. But I learned enough about piano to get me in trouble. But then I saw Peter Criss on the TV with their individual albums that were coming out on TV, and they were from Kiss, right? All the solo albums, right?
Oh, man.
And all of a sudden, I wanted to be Peter Criss. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so she bought me a drum kit, a Gretsch.
No way, really?
Yeah, she bought me a Gretsch 5-piece, and I was hooked, and I played that all the way through high school. So.
Are you playing drums today sometimes, like at a Jackass Genius show?
Sometimes I am. I'll switch with Brad Heston, who is our drummer in Jackass, and we'll occasionally do a song, and he'll get up and sing, and I'll go back and remember what it's like to play back there behind the kit, and I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's great to be able to have that kind of flexibility, because you get to enjoy something that I don't want to say I don't have to work at it. I do, but it's great.
It came natural for you, it seems.
It feels good. Let's just put it that way.
You were inspired by Peter Criss.
I was inspired by Peter.
And Kiss,
Yeah.
right? And so I, too, had some inspirations out of that band. I mean, I think a lot of people... I mean, Kiss... I mean, my God, we could talk all night about, Kiss
Sure.
influences, but that's really cool. And then you ended up with a Gretsch kit, and how long did you play that?
I played that, golly, through all the way... I think I played that all the way through high school.
Were you playing with other people, or just a private sessions?
I was in a band in high school with some buddies of mine called the Embryos.
That's cool.
And yeah, I played drums with them, and it was very much like I don't know if you describe it as new wave, but I mean think of the B-52s back before they were famous. That's probably kind of what it was. I don't know how much that really wasn't my love, but I loved playing drums. It didn't matter to me, and I loved playing with these guys, and these guys were fun. So yeah, I had a great time.
That's really sweet. So drumming took you. You were in a band. You got bit by live music. It seems pretty early playing the drums. Where'd that take you though?
I played. From there, I kind of went from the Embryos, and then and tried to do some other things. But I parlayed that in after I left high school. I really studied drums. I thought pretty hard. Right. I mean, I would come home from. I was in college. I'd come home at noon and play drums for 2 hours, and then go to a part-time job. And I did that for like a couple years. And I would put on every Rush album. I would put on Rat. I would put on Motley Crue. And I really wanted to be...
This is all like mid-'80s, right?
This is probably 84, 85.
Yeah, what a great time for music, too.
Absolutely. And I would sit down, and I would play. It was either a phonograph or a tape, probably a cassette tape. And put you sit down after lunch, and you put the headphones on, and you go at it, and for like 2 hours. And then I'd take a shower and go to work and come back, and I'd do that 4 or 5 days a week. And that was my rehearsal schedule. And I didn't know any better. You don't know to hook up with other people. I just know that I wanted to play drums. But in business school, I met a couple guys, and they're like, hey, we're starting a band, and we kind of went from there. And that band went on to, open up a few shows at the El Sevilla, which I was pretty proud of. So, and I have the honor and privilege to say that I played drums and sang on the stage of the El Sevilla.
Good for you.
So I don't know how well I played drums up there, but I got to do both, so it was a really great experience.
You have any Rosa Villa stories that you want to share?
I've got a ton about Rosa that I probably shouldn't share. I will say that I did a couple. We warmed up. The band I had at the time was called Fantasy, and Fantasy lasted for probably a year or two, and we did hair band stuff and Rat and everything else. And one of my fondest memories was opening up for St. August. For Colin Cannon, Jeff Peters, and Mooch Neff, and all those guys. It was a great experience and fantastic time, and a fantastic time for music too, because everything was just exploding at that point. And I remember going to a cookout that St. August was having. They were having a party for one of their members and stuff like that, and some of the guys in Fantasy were, the Fantasy was invited to go, so I went over there, and I got some great advice from a guy I looked up to. Hey, Colin, if you're listening. Colin Cannon from St. August. He said, dude, there's a lot of bands in this town, and there's a lot of drummers in this town. And he said, there's not a lot of singers. And it kind of resonated with me. He knew that I was playing drums with Fantasy, obviously, but I was singing leads, doing that like the Kelly Keagy thing, right, with Fantasy. And he was kind of like, you should just kind of move up front, or that's how I took it. So next thing I know, I'm back in lessons, singing lessons, and
wow.
And I'm singing with another band probably, I don't know, probably 9 or 12 months later. And I'm, next
still
thing...
still in the 80s? Or
yeah,
late
still in the
80s
80s. We're probably talking about 88, 89, and
wow.
I'm probably, now 18 months before that I'm playing drums, and now I'm,
fronting the band.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so there's a lot of experience from that point forward, and, the podcast says Giants Among Us. I mean, experience that you have, not too many people get. There's a couple that are still at it that I think have been around, but, you take some stock in that history, man, and it just, how did you forge forward from, becoming a front man and getting, what was motivating you to keep going?
I was trying to figure out at the time, and I don't know how motivated I was. I was trying to figure out who I was and where I wanted to go. From Fantasy was kind of like a hair band. It was like we were doing Motley Crue and Rat and stuff like that. And then when I kind of segued into this other band, which was a band called Vaso, which I think is now, a couple of members are in a band called Insonified. So hello to those guys. But they did a lot of Genesis and things of that nature. So it was very Fairweather, the band Fairweather.
Oh, right.
We kind of were kind of more in that realm. And we had a lot of originals and did our thing with that. That was kind of an interesting time because I was experimenting with what kind of lead vocalist or what kind of frontman I wanted to be. And at that time, I went, on the one hand, I went from hair band lead singer type of wannabe to now all of a sudden I'm, fronting almost like a Genesis type situation. And, we were pretty good. It ran its course, and then, things just kind of went their own way. But I'm fortunate enough to say that I had different experiences in those different categories, right? I mean, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, and fronting that and learning from them and, gaining that experience to front a crowd.
Yeah.
Does that come natural to you to work a crowd?
I don't know. I'd like to...
Di's back here, okay? Di's back here giving us signals.
Well, there's an old saying is that if you have pent up energy, it has to go somewhere, and I think my energy has to go somewhere. So, I'm in that category where it's hard for me to be quiet, or sometimes I talk too much and everything, but I want to get out and entertain people or do whatever, but I don't know what getting signals. I just need a way to kind of express myself, so I figured out a way, regardless of musical style, on how to do that. Right, actually liked doing the Genesis stuff like that, because there's a very Peter Gabriel type theatrical thing to it, and that was fun. I don't think that's where my musical roots lie, but it was fun. It's not the kind of stuff I want to write. No, it's kind of funny too because of my musical tastes are all over the board. My roots are, from high school basically. I wanted to be Peter Criss playing drums, but I wanted to be, Michael Stanley, Donnie Iris, or Bruce Springsteen singing songs. And Bob Seger, all over the place. So I'm all over the place as far as
taste and
everything else.
What's kind of motivating you. There's
Right.
a lot of motivation
I could never decide.
across the board.
Yeah, I could never decide.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So, did you have a lot of bands then from that point forward?
I did.
Because the '90s were a different time. It's maybe some family time into the 2000s. But were you trading off music with family life?
A little bit, yeah. I did. When I first got married, I had my first kid. We had our first child. I joined a band called Mr. Two-Face. And Mr. Two-Face was originally fronted by the wonderful frontman, Chuck Oney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Chuck is a local legend. And
I think he's going to be here next week.
is he?
I think.
That's okay.
He's coming soon.
So, Chuck, I expect you to return the favor. Okay, I'm a local legend. You can say that. But no, and Chuck was great. He had decided that he wanted to move on, but the guys in the band were John Bruce and Marshall Taylor and Brad Heston. And Brad Heston and Marshall Taylor are now in Jackass Genius.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
So it was
So, precursor, a lot of history there. And but Mr. Two-Face did a great bit for I don't know however many years we did it. Traveled around, Columbus area, down at Chillicothe and stuff like that. Got kicked out of the Chillicothe Inn.
How does that happen?
You'll have to ask Marshall Taylor about how that happens. It's a long story.
Okay.
But the name of the bar was Mariah's, and we had a great time down there. But the Mr. Two-Face experience was amazing. Did that for a while, and we released an EP. We recorded that with Joe Veers, I think, right? At I think that was at Schwab Studios, if I remember right.
It could be.
And we recorded that and did our thing, and
Di's trying to get our attention.
Di's trying to get my attention.
Yeah, what's happening with the Mr. Two-Face now?
But oh God, I'm sorry. Is this bourbon?
It's bourbon.
Okay, good.
It's Angel's Envy on a big rock.
Yeah,
It doesn't get any better than that.
Awesome. That's awesome stuff. Anyway, what was I about Mr. Two-Face? But Mr. Two-Face did its thing for a few years, and then I had a point where I was kind of getting to a point where I don't know. I felt like I wasn't getting. I wasn't growing.
You were stagnant.
I was a little
and you weren't digging that.
I was stagnant. I wasn't digging that, and that wasn't on the guys. That was on me, right? And so I kind of stepped away from that, and the guys kind of took that opportunity. I went off and started doing something else, but the guys from Two-Face took that opportunity, and they started a band called Feel, which did very well. Had some very attractive views from the public and from some companies and things like that. Warmed up for some big acts and everything else. They had a lot of good activity, and they did very well. Mike was their lead singer, and he was fantastic. Yeah, did very well. While they were doing that, I decided to kind of lay low for a little bit and wrote some songs of my own. Tried to figure that out. I put a project together called Dave Crouch and the Volunteers. It was just a working title. But I had a bunch of crazy people join me on that, right? I had Brad. I actually had Matt Bradley. I had Steve Mitchell. I had Brian Frumfield. I had a bunch of people come in.
Those are powerhouse players.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I had a lot of people come in and do some things as a favor to me, and it was a lot of good music, and I wrote a lot of songs, a lot of demos and stuff like that. And I didn't know what to do with it, and I sat on it for a little bit, and I was a little concerned about next steps, and email was starting to be a thing. So I thought to myself, after a few beers, you know what? What would Michael Stanley do? And so I emailed him. And I said, Dear Mr. Stanley, you don't know me, but I'm doing this, and this is what I have. And I have these demos and stuff like that. I have no idea what to do next and everything else. But I said, I feel this way, and I'm trying to do something. And a couple days go by, and I get an answer. And it's from Michael Stanley, and I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, okay, where are these recordings? So I sent them to him. And a couple more days go by, and he listens to them, which shocked the hell out of me. And he goes, okay. And he goes, I'll help you. And he goes, the recordings are not where I would expect them to be. He goes, let's turn those around and see what we need to do. And he goes, let me know. And I felt, bad and good all in one thing, because I would have to spend more money to do that, and I'm a new homeowner trying to raise a kid who doesn't have this kind of money.
Yeah, priorities.
And so I'm like, okay, and I thanked him profusely.
Oh yeah.
And I said, okay. I said, I'll get back to you. And I couldn't get back to him in the time I wanted to. And about a year or two later, I hooked up with a friend of mine from work named Tony Leach. And that's what came about in the Planet Now album, Planet Now CD.
Yeah, and Dave, thanks for, sharing that with me tonight. That's something I'll definitely listen to, and, I think, is it streaming at all, or is it just on a CD form?
I think right now it's, I think I've got some YouTube sound bites on there.
Yeah.
I still want to do some stuff with, what is it? The streaming, I can't think of it. Spotify. I still want to do some stuff with Spotify and other stuff. But I need to re-release it and kind of do some stuff with it. I still have a lot of CDs left. And I, kind of want to do stuff with it. But it was the kind of thing that at the time, this is back in 2002, when it got me some attention.
Oh, yeah.
And I was able to, I actually submitted to a contest on QFM 96. It was the first contest that I ever got close to winning on QFM 96, because they wanted a, what is the contest that they have with the vocal stuff with Randy Jackson and, I'm sorry, I can't think of it.
That's all right.
American Idol, right. So QFM 96 did a like a rock idol thing locally here in Columbus. I submitted for that, and I was like in there, I think something like top 5 or something like that, and it was a blast. The Planet Now thing got me to, I actually joined Wags and Elliot on the radio one morning.
So cool.
Oh, so much fun. And that was the first time that I ever met Christy Kemper. Hey, Christy. But a lot of fun there, but it also kind of like resurrected things in me.
Sure.
And long story short, Tony and I headed up to a Michael Stanley concert that he was having in Cleveland, which is where he's from. And I was trying to get in line so I could hand him a CD and tell him, like, I took your advice, I just didn't do it with those songs. So I paid attention anyway.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
So you were able to come back around to that.
Yeah, I mean, his whole thing was that you've got to have a polished product. That was the lesson I learned, right? You have to have a polished product. It's one thing to come out of the basement and have ideas and stuff like that, material, and scratch demos and stuff like that. That's all great. But if you're going to submit them to people that you want to hear them, have a polished product. So I took that to heart, and I was going to show him that, and I didn't get the chance, but I always appreciate his advice to this day.
Well, and he made the time too, right? Like I'm sure he's a busy person, you know.
He didn't have to. I mean, he had MS and the Resonators, and he was still doing. Lord knows, at the time, I think he was probably still doing PM Columbus and Cleveland and stuff like that. He was still a busy, semi rock star up there, and he didn't have to take the time, but he did.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So around 2002, then that's where it kind of brings us chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
You're rubbing elbows with local radio station Elite and having fun with your music. What was next for you?
So after Planet Now came out, I had been doing a lot of just kind of.
And it's an independent label, right? Like, is it your own, or did you get signed with somebody for that?
No. I just released it.
Yeah.
We basically secured the songs on, I think it was BMI, and just copyrighted the songs and just released it on our own thing. It was obviously pre-Facebook, so there was not too many platforms to release it on. We just did it on our own. And I had gotten into a band at that time called the Smuggling Yo-Yos out of Marion with Dennis Cometti and the boys. And the guys were were kind enough to actually, we would play a couple of the songs in our sets for a while, and that was greatly appreciated by me and Tony. And even Tony joined the band for a while. So Tony was actually, he did the Planet Now thing, and he joined us for I think almost a year for some gigs in the Smuggling Yo-Yos, and we would play like Northern Columbus and stuff like that. But the nice thing was that these guys were fantastic, and they would let us play these originals, and we would sell these Planet Now CDs, which I still have a good surplus of.
I have one.
You do have one.
Thank you.
They make a great Frisbee, by the way. If you don't like what you hear.
No, man. No. We have an Xbox. And,
there you go.
That's where we play our CDs. And it does get rifled through to a decent stereo sound. So it's good stuff. We'll listen to it. Definitely.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that's, and I gotta say, I mean that's the, of the things I've recorded that, allowed me to think that this is possible. That's where it started, right? I mean, when you hear something back and you go, okay, maybe I can do this, right? And then you get in with guys, years later, you get in a situation with the guys in Jackass. And we did some recording for the West Side Projects. Steve Mitchell ran with that and did some great reunion type West Side band shows where we did CDs for that, and they were fantastic. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Steve kind of ran the shows on those, and we did original material for I think 2 out of the 3 CDs that were released. Probably, I want to say after the 2010, 2011 era, but there were two or three CDs that were released, and we had a couple originals, and then we all decided to do a cover. So we secured the rights and did that. But we had bands that were, kind of resurrecting themselves after all these years. And we're talking about bands that used to play at the Sugar Shack.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that we're talking pre-Al Rossavilla, right? And bands like Black Leather Touch would get together and they would, record a song and stuff like that. These guys haven't been together in years, right? And we'd get together and had a big party and raised money and released a CD, and it was fantastic. And it gives you a lot of confidence and a lot of, it kind of boosts your mood about, Columbus music and stuff like that. And plus, when things like this happen, you get to rub your elbows with all these legends from
your compadres.
Compadres, right? I mean, some of these guys are from the legends from the late 70s, early 80s and stuff like that. These guys are still around. They're doing stuff, right?
Most of them are still doing stuff.
They are. And I have so much respect, and it was so much fun to do, right? And then when you do a great big band jam at the end, right? I mean, everybody gets on the stage at once, and there's nothing like that, It's just not. There's nothing.
Jams are a blast.
There's just nothing that compares to it.
They're a blast.
Yeah.
You familiar with the Starkey Palooza and the Prue Dog Barn Jam and all that? Do you participate in that?
I haven't had a chance yet.
I haven't either. I've been invited for years,
yeah.
and like my day job typically gets in the way with stuff or travel or something. But I would think that you probably
it's on my
enjoy
radar.
Those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I need to. I'm still welcome after all this time, but yeah, I want to. It's always nice to get together with these guys because, it's one of those things where, at any given time, there, we're on stage somewhere, and somebody from another band comes up, or we get on stage with them in the band. I mean, again, it's a Columbus, Ohio has become a big love fest of musicians here in the last, I want to say, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yep. It's a true story. Love jams. Jams are fantastic.
And we, it's the kind of thing where, I don't know, like, again, like I've said it before, but like Bettler made a point that, and I think it was another podcast with Todd Bettler. It was great point that he made, that the bands now, at least the individuals from bands, were standing at the upper part of the Al Rossavilla with their arms crossed by the bar, staring down at whatever warm-up band was down there, and, criticizing or, rating or something like that. We don't do that anymore.
No.
We're all in the same category and stuff like that. We've all had kids and everything else, and we're all empty nesters and everything else. So in the last few years, some of us who were fairly dormant have gotten back into bands, or at least gotten back into the marketing of bands. And so now it's a big thing for everybody. And so now we're all friends, and it's kind of like we all have so much in common, between the Sugar Shack and Al Rossavilla and stuff like that. There's so many stories and stuff like that. So when we get together,
it's a good time.
It's a damn
good time.
It's a damn good time, and we don't realize it's like, oh, you played with so and so. Me too, and you don't really realize until you start talking through all this stuff, because it's years and years of, history. But, I've been talking to other musicians in town and stuff like that, other band leaders, and the one thing that's been the most fun is that when we have like a multi-band thing, whether it's a festival or something like that, where we all get on stage together, and at the end of the whole thing, and like, kind of round it out where everybody's having a jam, And that's been the most fun. We did that with the West Side Project and stuff like that, and it was a great blast, right? So I'd like to do that. I think that it's, I don't think it's too much to ask of myself to, like, here in the next year or so, trying to put something together, and I don't know, maybe we'll do like a master jam or something like that. Put together a big festival.
That's a great
and stuff
idea.
like that. I know that there's a few places we could do it, and I've talked to other people about it and stuff like that. I know. I've talked to James from Stadium 11. We could do this. We could do a thing, or we could put a big thing together. Sorry, James, didn't mean to put you on the spot there, dude.
James.
But James is the biggest sweetheart ever.
Yep.
But the thing is just have these jams and stuff like that, and make it worth something, right? And who knows? Maybe we raise money in the meantime, right? Maybe we make it an annual thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box. Maybe it's the bourbon talking, but
No, it's a great idea.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, getting together and recording with your buddies and stuff like that. I've actually got an idea, and I'm thinking real hard about securing the rights to a song and having everybody come in and record with me. I don't know how I'm going to do this and everything, and I'll talk to the powers that be to do this, but I've already kind of, like, ran it past a few musicians in town about how we do this and stuff like that. And it's maybe it'll take off, maybe it won't, but it'll be fun.
I'm pretty sure John Homan knows how to do that stuff, because they've done that.
Okay.
He's done that. I don't remember the name of the song, but they did a cover of a very popular song that's been released.
Okay.
It's out there.
Yeah.
But he might be able to help you, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm talking about.
And he's the type of guy, if you don't already know him, I mean, he's very approachable.
Oh, no. I know. John.
He's a very, very giving person.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And yeah, no, I'll reach out to him on that, and that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, right? I mean,
Yep.
we're going to look for, we'll probably look for something to do like that. It comes spring or summer, I'm going to be looking to secure the rights to a song. I'm thinking about getting something out of my system. I think that here in the last year or so, well, it's a little more before that, but I read an interview with Pat Monahan from Train, and he did Led Zeppelin 2. He did a remake of Led Zeppelin 2, and he sent a heartfelt letter to Jimmy Page, but that basically said, I'm not trying to one-up you. I'm not trying to make this better. It's just something I need to get out of my system. And I think that's where I'm at. If I do a cover or something like that, it's just something I need to get out of my system.
You need to do it.
Yeah. I mean, sitting there from, 1982, 1983 or whatever millennium it is. Let's do this, let's go. Let's get together and have fun. And,
doing that.
And do that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yep. You're just the guy to front it and make it happen.
I'll see. We'll talk about it. I've got a good manager, and we'll go from there.
She's been a delight this evening. Di has. Now look at her. She's all balled up in the chair, laughing. That's okay.
Well, that's what Angels Envy will do to you.
What a great idea, man. A couple great ideas, jam, but also then cultivate some of the players that you think might want to do this other project, where you cover a tune.
Right. Well, I think that if we,
Do you know what tune you have in mind?
I have a tune in mind. Like I said,
We don't have to divulge that. 'Cause
no,
that's
it's
a super secrecy.
Yeah, it doesn't. We don't have to talk about it right now.
Someone
I've ran it past a few people, but the idea is that I found a song from my youth that has enough vocals and solos of both piano, guitar, and saxophone, that where we could do that and just have a great time.
So cool.
But it doesn't need to stop there, right? We can do other songs, or we can do originals. The nice thing about what we did with the West Side Project, and God bless Steve Mitchell for, having a huge hand in that and getting that off the ground. Everybody got together and, went into the studio and wrote original material.
Yep.
And then we re-released it, and then we had a big party to re-release it. Well, what's stopping us now? Let's do that again. Let's keep doing that.
Good idea.
I mean, and there's...
People have time now, man. They
We
do.
have time.
The kids are grown.
Yeah.
It's not
We
a
have
lot.
time.
You got to fill that free time with something.
Absolutely.
Creative juice is, good stuff.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen. But the thing about it is that we all get together, and if nothing else, shoot. What ended up happening with the West Side thing is that we threw a big party, and we raised money. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Nothing, man.
Yeah.
Not a damn thing.
So maybe we do that. Maybe that's on the docket for this year. But I've got a song in mind. I'm running it past some people, and you're hearing it. You're hearing it here first, Len.
Something good's gonna come out of this, man.
I'm thinking so.
I know so.
It may not be easy, but it's going to be good. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to whatever that becomes, come to fruition, and giving back to the community through camaraderie and no crossed arms.
No crossed arms, baby. No, there's no point anymore. Let's all get on the stage and jam.
Yeah,
That's the
Di.
thing.
I think Di's digging that idea. She's over there smiling big. Big.
Sure.
Of course I am.
Of course. How'd you meet Steve Mitchell? He's your guitar player for how many years? Not your guitar player. You guys have been performing together. You on Vox, and he's on guitar. Steve's
Yeah.
a well-respected guitar player in town.
So I think what happened there was I had left Mr. Two-Face and was going to go do my I called it the volunteers thing, and I needed a little leg up on some guitar work, and wasn't very confident in my guitar playing, and so I took lessons off of Steve Mitchell. Right, I drove to Hilliard, every week for however long, and started talking to him, and I was playing stuff, and after a while I kind of, hey, I got this thing I'm gonna do, and he's like, okay, well, do you want me to play a guitar on it? I'm like, yes, please. And he was very cool about it, and we kind of became friends after that. He came in the studio and laid down a track for me. And then not long after that, he kind of calls me up, and we were gonna do a duo thing for a while. We both had very small kids at the time, and it was a very busy time, and he was kind of in and out of bands. I was in and out of bands at the time, and nothing really worked out. But then he called me not long after that and said, hey, I've been made band director of a church here in Grove City for a praise and worship band thing in for Grove City, and he said, "Do you want to be a part of it?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Groovy." And he said, he goes, "I got Cliff Stanton involved."
Really?
Yeah. And so that wasn't intimidating at all for me. But
he's a pillar, man.
he is. My God. And so we started rehearsing as a praise and worship band. And we had, I think it was the first Saturday of every month for a few years. We did a praise and worship thing for the teenagers, and they appreciated it because it was kind of like, it was more of an upbeat type of mass, if you will. So instead of two nuns and a guitar, it would be like Michael W. Smith type stuff, right? Or Stephen Curtis Chapman-ish type stuff.
That's
but
cool.
It was more in the Catholic realm. We didn't actually play stuff like that, those artists, but it was more that style.
That vibe.
The vibe and the style, yeah.
That's cool.
But it was a great time, and we did that for a while. And the funny thing is that that ran its course, and we decided we had figured out that it wasn't going to go any further, and Steve and I started talking with a few other people. I'm like, you know what? The church band's not going to happen anymore. Why don't we just turn this into a regular rock band?
Imagine that.
So
you guys are all rockers. So
our roots were as a praise and worship band.
That loved rock and roll.
Right. Part of our thing to QFM 96 was our bio was kind of a byline that mentioned that we were a praise and worship band, that we went down to Graceland and prayed at the grave of Elvis Presley for guidance, and said, what do we do? And the spirit of Elvis Presley said, go forth and be a rock and roll band. That's what we did.
The king moves in mysterious ways.
He does
I think
indeed.
I read that.
He does indeed.
Wow, that's cool. So that's how you guys got together as Jackass Genius.
As Jackass Genius, yeah.
And it clicked right away with the four of you guys?
Immediately. We had one of the original bass player from the band couldn't stay. And so Steve had been playing with Brad before in another band with the lead singer of Feel, of all things, in a band called Beaver Squad. And Beaver Squad, I don't think lasted all that long, but Brad called Marshall, and who I had played with in Two-Face, and it was a great fit. So we haven't looked back, and it's been going on. We're at 14 years with the same four guys.
That is so awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking to JP Benson and Nikki Reber about the history of Radio City.
Sure.
And so they're another alumni compadre band with you guys. You guys were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the first QFM house band.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It was called it was a different name though at the time, or was it?
No, it was still Jackass Genius. Yeah.
Oh, but the title though for QFM, was it a different? Was it the house band at the time, or was it like
it was the house band?
Okay.
The difference in names came from year two, and so what you had was Jackass Genius was the first house band, and then you had No Regrets which was year two, and that was Doug from Rockhouse.
Yeah, Doug Blessing.
So Doug Blessing from Rockhouse had No Regrets, and him and Stretch and the guys, and they went through a name change. So I don't know if maybe that's what it is, but that was the name change. That's the only name change that I can think of. So it went from No Regrets to Rock House.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we had a great time at that.
Jackass
Yeah, we've always been Jackass Genius. Yeah.
Yeah, still rocking. You guys, are you? How many songs have you guys written together as a band?
Probably. I'm gonna guess that we've probably only done 5. But we record like 2 or 3.
Nice.
We're proud of the ones that we have recorded. Like them a lot, and the one on the latest QFM '96 album was, obviously an honor and everything else. But it was the kind of thing where we thought we were all going to go in and do cover songs. And then we started talking to Joe, and Joe's like, no, people are doing originals. Yeah, and so we kind of bagged the session with Joe when we were supposed to record that day. And we went next door, which is because that's where, at Sonic Lounge. Sonic Lounge has the recording studio next door and a rehearsal studio next door to that. And we immediately picked up our gear, walked over to our rehearsal space where we've been practicing for 10 years or whatever, and wrote a song.
Wow.
And we did it that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it consistent how you guys write? Do you do it the same way every time? Or is there different beginnings of the tunes you guys work together on?
I think largely. Most of the time, Steve brings in a riff, and we'll kind of follow around with that and everything else. And, either Brad or I will start setting a melody or some vocal line to it. We'll get something going, but it usually happens pretty fast. And we're looking at doing it again, right? I mean, we're thinking about moving forward.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
You guys are just
we've got the
you're
itch.
a bundle of talent in Jackass Genius.
Yeah, we have the itch. I think.
Good.
I think it's time that we, kind of. It's not very often that we do because everybody's so busy, especially with Steve and the Gods thing and everything else. But I think we're at a point where it's time.
Yeah, and come back around to it.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Di, what do you got? She's speechless.
No, I'm not. Not usually.
No, I'm sure she has
I know. I've been talking with you for a little while, and she's like,
I've been drinking this all in. So ask him what's next.
"What is next for you, Dave Crouch? What is next? Are you able to talk about that?
Yes, you are.
If you don't want to talk about it, we won't talk about it."
So, I think I planted that seed.
You did, but you.
Okay, so I didn't expand as far as you wanted.
Oh.
All right. So the idea is to do the tribute thing with the bands and everything else, but I want to do some more recording and stuff like that. Obviously, I'll do whatever anything comes my way. But I think I'm ready. I'm at a point where I need to be more creative because. It's been locked up for quite a while. I mean, jobs do that to you, and life does that to you. And
It
everything else.
institutionalizes an individual.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
But I'm ready to do a lot more writing, and I'm starting to. So, look for some stuff from Jackass or from whatever. Here very shortly.
That's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah.
But see, that's not the only thing, because I think we hear that from every band right now. I feel like every band has been suspended through 2020 and COVID, and now everybody wants to just
And now
express.
there's an explosion of creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
there's
she's right.
There's no
And
doubt about it.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's so much freaking talent out there.
There is. This town has a tremendous amount of talent. It's
Ridiculous.
overwhelming sometimes. It really is.
I can't wait to work with the ideas that I have for this like little project I've got going, and I haven't even started yet. But I need. There's some people I need to talk to, and some rights I need to secure. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of people involved, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. And you're invited. Everybody's invited. We're going to do a big thing if it pans out the way I want it.
It will.
So,
Okay, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be able to stand longer than 30 seconds.
Well, I mean,
We'll
you know,
get
it
you
depends
a
on how much.
chair,
It depends on how much angels we drink. Because that's a thing.
That and the paralysis in my my feet.
School's
it's like-
accepted. we just saw Donnie Iris
Yeah, Donnie Iris.
2 weeks ago, and half his show was on a stool.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
because
Donnie-
he's been through
I don't know if I can
cancer
get her.
and
You know,
crap. And
I did that for a while before the band I was in kind of fizzled out, and no one cared that I was
no,
down,
No.
hurting, and still jamming the best I could. I had a lot of different shit going on, but the point is, it just depends on if it's right scenario, right scenario,
you know what? You just keep pushing through.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Working through. I had a lot of stuff going, but
Well, Donnie or I.
it's cool, man. That'd be good. I mean, I would contribute as much as I possibly could. I mean, I've got some great gear. It needs to be used. I haven't brought myself to sell it yet, so maybe I can be useful. We'll stay in touch. How's that, man?
That sounds
I would
great.
love to.
Yeah,
I can't wait to really see it come together for you,
no,
and you'll make it happen.
Yeah, I don't think I have it. I don't think I have a choice, but I'm excited to get stuff going on. I mean, it's gonna kind of take a new turn here very, very, very quickly, because I think everybody wants to do something. Everybody always wants to get together.
Yep.
This is a great town for that, right? So, I mean, everybody's very friendly. I mean, we're all making friends left and right. I mean,
It's cool.
we're all incestuous. Everybody knows everybody now. So,
It's cool.
yeah,
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Creators have to create.
Yeah, but you know what, man? Here's something maybe to think about too is what I've learned is the Columbus music scene goes way beyond the rock genre. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
sure.
lot of different. There's
Yeah,
jazz
there's
performers.
jazz,
There's
yep.
blues. There's R&B. There's a lot of R&B in this town.
Yep.
It's really and I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to have more of that influence in some of the things concepts you're talking about.
I'll go whatever routes that they want me to go, and that's just it, man. Whatever creativity we can come up with, that's great.
Yeah.
I just like the camaraderie right now, because I mean we're all kind of like, it's so cool. I mean, you and I and Beth and Di talked
Yeah.
before. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. We all know each other. It's like not even like 2 degrees of separation, right?
Yep.
We all know each other by one or
By
two people.
Oh, yeah.
Not even.
If that.
If that.
Half a person.
Right.
Many
Half a
cases.
person. Right. For sure.
Well, Dave, you know what? I can't wait for some of these to be announced. It'll be fantastic. Looking forward to some Jackass Genius shows to see you fronting and singing and having a good time with that. And again, I mean, I am so happy that we were able to make this time together and
Thank you,
get to
man.
know Dave Crouch on episode number 66 of Columbus Local Podcast. David, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks,
and
man.
bringing Di, too. I mean, meeting Di was really... And you met Megabeth, which is always the
I
best
did meet
part.
Megabeth.
It's
That's
always
awesome.
the best part.
Yeah.
And she tends to disappear, but we'll see her again. She'll be around. She'll come back around. But great meeting you.
Thanks, brother.
You know, and I really enjoyed the evening, and actually appreciate all the things that you brought. You know, it's the Jackass Genius merchandise and some beverage. You know, it was awesome. But the best part was meeting you guys, and
Thank you very much,
You're
man.
great folks.
Appreciate you having us.
Loved it.
Been great.
Loved it. Episode number 66. Dave Crouch, Jackass Genius, and some other broadening conceptual projects on the horizon. You know, keep your eyes and ears peeled. I'm sure a lot of people have already talked with him about some of them, but nonetheless, it's coming. Looking forward to it, and we thank you for listening. Bye-bye.